requesting abatement.
Or
There is no deadline for requesting
Great.
abatements,
That's good to know.
ever.
Okay,
So that, if your house burns down or if you had flood damage and still haven't filed, FEMA deadlines and those things do not apply for abatements. That's town business only.
good to
And
know.
Related to that, the second announcement is, I did notice in, looking at the website that there is nothing on the website about the Board of Abatement and its minutes are not posted. So I talked to Bob Fancher about that and he's asked me to get him some information about, who makes up the Board of Abatement, et cetera. So we are working on getting that up on the website as soon as possible.
Great. Well, thanks for that.
Yep.
That's your other hat you're wearing. Not the select board hat.
Right.
Any other announcements from the board? Public comment? Anyone have anything out there? See nothing on the Zoom. Well, we'll jump into town clerk report. Bram, are you good with that?
Oh, here's the mic, Bram.
This means it's on the agenda. Very hectic day and just to see what I need to talk about. So. Printed up the wrong agenda.
Yeah, there's six here. You got one? You need another one file?
Oh, I think I'm good for the moment.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
This is,
Were there separate items on the thing like that? I can talk about the town treasurer.
Yeah, let's pick. Yeah, I think unless there's something general in the clerk's office you want to mention.
I sent everybody, the, outline for how to manage salary for, the town treasurer and town clerk. My suggestion is that, both positions be salary positions rather than hourly. And they both be set at the rate of $45,000 annually. And this, is, those salaries are lower than what other towns pay on those positions, or other towns or advertising. I thought it was fair. It represents a 20% decrease in my salary. You could say, well, you're giving up all the town treasurer responsibilities. I think that the town treasurer position is a position that's a bit trial by fire, and it takes months of training under someone to, really get the hang of it. I was thrown in cold, and that was something that I do not want to ever have someone, Josh in a position. I understand there's procedural issues were raised regarding appointing a second assistant town treasurer. That was my fault, and thanks for the procedural people who brought that up. I had assumed, since you're allowed to have more than one assistant town clerk, that you would be permitted to have two assistant town treasurers. That's not the case. So to keep things simple, I think I will be mentoring Josh regarding all the different aspects of the job for months. It takes that long. I will not be formally signing checks, and you can just put me as my role will be town clerk, and There was one other matter regarding, the salary of the town treasurer, that I just wanted to bring up. It has to do with, the town policy of extending benefits. I misread the procedural manual, the workers, or code of hiring and so forth. And I misread the line that says benefits start after 30 days. I thought it was up to 30 days, you have to start benefits. So when we brought Dylan on, he started his,
Road crew.
Dylan on the road crew
Yeah.
came on. He started his benefits, right when he was hired, rather than waiting 30 days. That's my error, and if the board chooses to, the cost is $918, and if you want to adopt my, house name somewhere, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. It's my error from reading the manual. I was just wondering if we might extend, that, courtesy to Josh, who has, I just want, all the taxpayers to know that Josh, has, been coming on and, really doing unbelievable work regarding managing, payments. The payments of the FEMA flood stuff is, incredibly complicated, and I think that, his work, which he's been doing, that compensation. I just think that we might consider, extending those benefits to him. That's your choice.
Mhm.
And if there's any, questions regarding, the framework of the positions, the salary. um,
I guess I wonder whose decision is that? Is it the town's decision? Is the insurance company? Who says, wait, I sorry, Patty. Who says wait,
She can
30
be heard.
days? Who says wait 30 days?
Sorry, who says?
Is that because of the insurance company? Is that?
These are all regulated policies, by the town. So the town makes decisions on to extend benefits and so forth. The insurance companies do have, peculiar requirements, so that if you join after a certain amount of time, you pay the full month, whatever. They also have very, very set enrollment periods, but that's distinct from the act of offering the compensation. So it's a separate matter.
It's in the town's personnel policy.
Personnel policy, that's the word.
Thanks.
It's in the town's personnel policy. It's your choice, whatever you guys decide is the way you go.
I have a clarifying procedural question. This is Francis Rose. Last week in this room, we had made a motion, approved it to kind of post-date your resignation 1 week. Have all the Ts been crossed and the Is been dotted there, that your resignation is complete and Josh is now the official town treasurer? Did we finish that work?
Yeah, well, we finished, a lot of the paperwork and, so forth. The question is, you guys authorize, the salary, so that has to be over.
No.
But I
Where is
think
that?
similar to the conversation last week, for us to authorize the salary for a new town treasurer, we need the resignation of the old town treasurer. That's the order of operations.
Yeah.
So we need you to resign. So
Yeah,
that we
no,
can-
I'm sorry that I didn't make that clear. I sent a motion. I mean, I sent a letter, a sample thing, and I thought I said in the second part of the thing, I talked about stepping in.
I thought.
Well, that was Francis Rose's question, is basically
I would concede that if the total amount for the two jobs adds up to 56,511, we are more for compensation for these two jobs. That somehow that has to be put in accord with what the town actually voted and is controlling of. The select board, as I understand it, does not control that salary. And by the way, it's a salary. There's nothing in the town, a budget, there's nothing in state statute that says that's hourly. It even says that that's yearly, it just says that's a job and that's what they get paid. I also, to point out, that there are two hidden, if you will, parts of the town clerk and town treasurer's salary, and that is the monies that are given by the water commission and the wastewater commission. And that adds up to $2 less than $7,000 a year comes from the water commission and the wastewater commission for their clerk and treasurer, which happens to be the town clerk and treasurer. As I understand it, the town clerk and treasurer do get paid $7,000 more by the water and wastewater commission. Just for your information, there is a clinker here. That water and wastewater commission is set by the commissioners. And okayed by the town, again, in our vote on town meeting day, we set that. If that has to be changed, it would be changed by a recommendation of the commissioners, but it would have to be confirmed by the town. And I just want to make sure our procedures are according to what is already set and that we don't, two things, violate those procedures. And secondly, we don't incur extra expenses that are not budgeted. And we don't know where that money is coming from.
So a couple of things. First of all, the town charter talks about elected officials. So I'm not an elected official. I can speak to state statute, but let's create some sort of a workaround. The other thing to consider here is that with the ARPA money discussion coming up, this would not necessarily be a direct hit to the taxpayer for this year. I really, I've got, I'm not trying to ignore, the proper protocols and procedures, but I think that there are workarounds to this, and if we can, if you want to set Josh's salary at 45 and give me a temporary salary at the balance until we figure out a solution, I'll accept that.
Is a direct response, Charlie?
Yeah,
I would like to say, yes, the charter reads originally that elected officials' compensation is set. I want to observe that that budget that was passed in salary was when we had an elected town clerk and town treasurer. So the only annual meeting that came to pass was the only meeting that came to pass that set that compensation was when those jobs were elected. It can only be set at the annual meeting. We can't cancel under state statute.
That's actually not factually true. We voted to change to appointed system and then we passed the budget.
Closely read the state statutes and get a lawyer to read those state statutes to see if the state of a requirement that a compensation be set by the town meeting regardless of elected or appointed. That's not the charter. That's state statute. Is set by the town and can't be changed. We might be able to call a special meeting and have the town agree to some other arrangement, but they cannot change what they did last town meeting. And please check with a lawyer, check with the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns with the specific questions, and I would advise to get a written opinion so that we can all agree to what, whether it's settled law or not, what the best advice we can get at this time.
well, we have Dan over here, was for.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry, Dan.
I would just say, we made the motion, to appoint Josh starting today. It's a full-time job. For us to not pass a salary to make sure that he's making money for that full-time jobs would be a dereliction of our duty as a town. I'm not sure it would be also okay from like a labor rights perspective. We have to take action tonight to pay a person who's doing a job for the town. We don't have the choice. I'd also say, I don't know how productive it is to have just a back and forth. I'd love for us to maybe get a motion and move on. And I can make that motion if we're ready.
Okay, are there any more questions first?
I mean,
I have one question, just clarifying this. The $7,000 that comes from wastewater, does that add to the 56 or is that part of the 56?
It's in two separate budgets, or three separate budgets, wastewater, water, and our town budget. Three separate budgets. The total of the town is 56,511. The total for the wastewater is 3599, and the total for water is 3599 to the clerk. There's also
So that adds to
that.
the 56. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Could I, just to clarify,
Go ahead.
so you were asking, was that a source of funds of the salary?
Yes,
Or was it an additional salary? And
I'm trying to
Charlie's
figure out,
saying it's additional salary?
it sounds like an additional salary, is it?
Well, it's an addition, is it additional to the town budget says 56,000 and change.
Yes,
And then on top of that, there's 7,000 for each position from water, wastewater.
that's the way,
That's. where
is
the
that,
town's at.
okay, that's what I didn't
And the
understand.
town approved all three of those.
I mean, I'd like to speak for a moment.
Yes.
Ms. Francis Rose. Hearing the need to move to action, I'm also wondering to presence, Charlie, your request to us that we get a legal writing, a recommendation for how we proceed. And I guess I'm wondering if there's a middle ground where the monies coming from other budgets, water and wastewater, can be committed even to both of you tonight. And then we use that time to get that legal opinion so that we're kicking the can down the road a little bit, perhaps. But then we have clarity from legal clarity, which I understand right now, this scenario right now, we're like a little off the books. We're like between the lines of the books. This is an unusual circumstance, and I honor and acknowledge that. Therefore, maybe there is due diligence for us to like get that legal opinion about what's happening here and to dedicate known monies that we don't have to allocate, that have already been allocated by other commission budgets toward those salaries. I'm just floating that idea. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question right here.
Josh?
So speaking as
Say your
the
name.
water commissioner, the budget for the water is not pulled from any of the budgets that the specific town budget that is approved on town meeting day. Is a separate budget and is paid out of like the users. So it's because the users are beyond the boundaries of the town. There are users that are from East Montpelier, and there's users in Marshfield. Like the Water Commission has an independent role to protect and maintain in perpetuity the fiduciary standing of the water and wastewater systems. So I would definitely preference the understanding that the water system does not come out of any of the town budget whatsoever. And it is at the discretion of those commissioners because it is in service of a group of individuals which are not representative of the town as a whole and are not, and some of them don't actually have the political recourse to come to the select board of Plainfield. They should go to the water commission because the water commission is empowered to protect their interests. So I just want to make sure that you're careful about understanding what is and isn't town funds when we're considering that water and wastewater.
Okay, thanks for that
Raise your
clarification.
hand up.
Karen?
Karen Hatcher, just an idea. If we have, I think is it $56,000 in the budget approved whatever that number is.
Wow.
That's correct, 56,000. Yeah,
Um,
plus.
Perhaps to Francis Rose's point, an interim step here could be to split that amount between the treasurer and the town clerk at this point, and to then get an opinion from an attorney, and also to look at our budget and figure out where the additional dollars could come from. That allows us to move forward and to pay folks, perhaps set at this rate, you know, if ultimately the rate is 45 and that's what you want to pay, perhaps Josh starts at less than 32 hours and you work into that or something, but you have $56,000 to work with. And it seems to me that there should be a way to divide that and be able to move forward tonight. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Karen. I'll say,
Thanks.
this is Francis Rose. That feels resonant to me.
What's that?
That feels resonant. That feels like a
Mhm,
good idea.
mhm. We just need time, which we don't have. We have a budget coming up. We need our treasurer.
Concur with that, except that I must say that one of the things that I find incredibly disturbing is that many of the procedural harpers, who I'm glad that they point out right procedure, they just sort of, you know, our town has been through incredible stress and deterioration for a long time. And it seems that the people who are trying to solve the problems end up paying the price, so to speak. And it's really unfortunate that those people hadn't stepped up earlier, or when they point out a problem, they never point out a solution. They just throw it back on you. And here we are. And, you know, I'll do it because I love the town and I'm dedicated to the town. But I feel really kind of aggrieved that that this problem was presented without a solution and we're stuck trying at the last minute. And I apologize for not doing all the groundwork. I've got a lot on my plate.
Mhm.
And my first and foremost concern since taking office is in making payroll and making sure that things are okay. And prior to the flood, that was a challenge. So with the flood, that's even more of a challenge. So I mean, so basically, as long as the motion includes something that we're gonna get paid. You know, I mean, we're both setting salaries with the understanding that 56.5 would not cover this. In other words, we didn't come out with this plan demanding full salaries for these positions. We came out with this plan in a frugal way to try to compensate for the fact that this is an extra budget expense and the select board does need a lot of time to discuss this issue. So if you want to, you know, split the salary and pay us peanuts for a while, okay. I mean, I can't speak for Josh.
Yeah, what do you want to say
Michael
about
also has
this?
hand raised.
So it's been awkward, like discussing my own salary at this meeting. But what I would point out is that given the circumstances of what has occurred in the last period between when the budget was set and where we are now, the amount of work that is required between the town clerk and the treasurer at the moment, like, is really 2 jobs worth of work. You know, and if you said that the town clerk and treasurer are $56,511 for the year, you split it into 2 jobs, now they each should get $56,511 because the work actually has doubled to the extent that we have had to divide that role into 2 individuals. Now, maybe that is like a far too liberal reading of like our town charter and state statute, but the fact remains there's far too much work for any one person to be doing effectively. And frankly, like, please do come and hang out at the town office. I can put everyone to work if they have any free time whatsoever, because there's a significant lift required at the moment, and it's simply not feasible for one person to be doing that.
Thank you.
We have a
Michael's-
question on Michael.
Yeah, it is, it is a question. If we take the 56,000 and add the 7 to that, which it sounds like it's going to be practical to do that, is 63,000. Our fiscal year is 4 months already done. So 4/12 of that, or 1/3 of that, has already been spent, with the present employees leaving 2/3 of that $63,000 to be divided in half. And I think, following Karen's suggestion, then the people would be able to go forward with salary, while the League of Cities and Towns would make an adjudication about whether they can have an exception.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I think, because we talked about it last week, gonna be making a motion in 2 or 3 motions from now to unobligate $173,250, to move, to the general fund for the purpose of municipal workforce retention to pay for payroll expenses for the period of July 1st through, April 15th. That seems more than enough to cover this shortfall, and specifically, given that we've been given the advice by Vermont League of Cities and Towns that we can move that ARPA money for the purposes of our municipal workforce payroll. I think that this is something that I don't think that we need to have anything. I think we can go forward with our plan using those funds. And if we want to get some clarifications on other things that we can be doing, or, if there are better ways for us to be doing this as a board, I understand that. But since we do have these funds that VLCT has said is perfectly appropriate to use for municipal payroll expenses, we should be using it for that.
Yes, Peter?
I would second what Dan just said.
Mhm.
When we get into the ARPA discussion later, we have to fill in some dates in a resolution as to what this could cover.
Mhm.
And we've been told by the league that we can go back retroactively, and the funds don't have to be expended until the end of 2026. So, I would think that, given the flood and other things that happen in town, we could take any budget that was voted at town meeting, and I don't think we're gonna be exactly on any of them, quite
Mhm.
frankly. Maybe a couple here or there. You run hot and you run cold. And at the end of the year, you have a surplus or you don't have a surplus. But what Dan was just saying about the ARPA funds, we've got about $180,000, and I went through the town report and did a quick, back of the envelope adding up of personnel costs, including fringe, retirement, et cetera, all of which is eligible
Mhm.
under the resolution. And it may or may not equal all of that amount that we have available, and so I would.
Actually, I ran, this is Brown, the town clerk, town treasurer. I ran the number, and so the number that Katie Buckley suggested was July 1st, 2023 to April 15th, 2024. And
I saw that.
right, and that's what she recommended, and I ran the budget number for what the salaries were at that time, and it was like $320,000. So it far exceeds 181.
Right.
Just FYI.
So, so I don't think we'll have an issue using up that money, and I think this is a place where we know we have voted for a significant transition in how we approach town treasurer and town clerk. And that between now and our town meeting, we will be building a new budget. We
Mhm.
can be looking at competitive salaries at neighboring towns. I personally don't think that 45 is adequate for those positions,
Mhm.
quite frankly. I'm happy to vote for that number this evening and use the ARPA funds to get us to town meeting, when the town will again weigh in and either tell us we've done a good job with our recommendation or not. But in the meantime, we need to run a place.
Mhm. That's our ultimate responsibility,
Do
isn't
you
it?
have a question, Dan? Dan has a comment.
I
Oh,
want to
sorry,
make a
Dan.
motion, but I
Yeah.
think I need, Bram, I just need you to officially resign, so then we can make. this
Yeah,
motion.
sure. I, Brent Tobin, officially resign as town treasurer effective immediately.
Great, and we'll get a letter with that. We'll have you write that out.
Absolutely, and I apologize for not following up on that. I thought it was, I included it it, just so you understand in the resolution.
Yeah.
So, but I will send a letter.
Just an email.
Informing everybody of my resignation as the town treasurer, it's effective immediately.
Okay. That's an
All right.
important piece.
I'm just gonna write that in these notes that I'm taking for the meeting.
Any other
And
questions?
you'll get an email first thing tomorrow morning.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve, a salary of $45,000 a year along with health insurance for the town treasurer.
Second.
I'd like to second that. Okay. No,
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous, and we will watch for that resignation.
Carl?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'd also like to make a motion to approve an annual salary of $45,000 for the town clerk position.
Second.
Second, question,
Yeah, discussion.
discussion.
On the agenda, it says town clerk, assistant town treasurer position, and Bram made comments earlier, and I know I circulated
Mhm.
to Bram and I think to Carl. I'm not sure if I sent it to everybody else. But we did get a ruling from the attorney at the League of Cities and Towns that the town treasurer may only appoint one assistant, and we have one currently, so we do not have the ability to appoint another
Right.
one anyway. Just to elaborate on that a little bit, by adding Josh, we are adding capacity to the office.
Mhm.
I would say it will take some time, hopefully not too long, for Bram and Josh to sort out the tasks that have for many years been lodged in a single individual, currently Bram, but others prior to Bram. And that I would not be surprised that we find ourselves revising the job descriptions for both positions. And maybe that is something we work towards for town meeting. And we tie that to any recommendation we have for compensation at that time. But we're going down new territory. Everything's been lumped together. We're going to be separating it now. I think we need to give them the time to do that.
Mhm.
And I'll leave it at that. But we're not appointing an assistant treasurer. Again, that is not our prerogative as a select board, except under extraordinary circumstances. And we'll leave it at that.
Hey,
Okay.
Charlie, you came back.
We do have a motion on the floor,
We can't get,
which we need to vote on.
yep.
Can you just say it again, just so we're clear?
Motion to approve an annual salary of $45,000 for the town clerk.
I second that.
It was already
And
seconded. by
all those in-
Mrs. Rose.
Okay.
All
Question,
those in favor?
Town
question,
treasurer,
question?
Question?
in the middle of a motion.
Question, can't have.
We're in the middle of motion, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to know if the motion was accurate. In other words, this is a point of, whatever you call it, clarification. Last time he said the salary plus health benefits. Is this also salary plus health benefits?
You didn't write that in your motion. Do you need health benefits?
So I should have included benefits in the motion.
I,
I was not.
Go ahead, Peter.
I'm not sure we need to say anything about benefits. We're hiring someone and we have a personnel policy,
Mhm.
which applies.
yeah. It's
They
not an
work,
hiring.
work certain hours.
We're just
they
changing,
qualify
they
for
already, I
certain
mean, he's already in the
benefits.
healthcare. He's already in healthcare. We're not even hiring. We're just adjusting his salary.
Right. So, everyone okay? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right. Next item is still the clerk.
Okay, sorry. It was,
ARPA?
sorry, the ARPA fund. So, Brandon, something, town clerk, on the ARPA money, we made you a recommendation of two motions that should be made. So just, there has been some discussion regarding, the $173,000 that was allocated to Bridge, 23 in the village. The advice of the key emergency management person and the another official from the league was that it's probably not prudent to have those funds wrapped up, because it's probably gonna have to reapply, and it's a long process. So the first motion I would recommend is to put those, unobligate those funds. And then the second motion, the total amount of ARPA money that is left is roughly 181, I believe. And to make the motion that Katie recommended, and Josh, you had.
Yeah, you gotta,
I just want to clarify, Road Commissioner, for the record, it's Bridge 21.
Thank you.
Sorry, I constantly make that mistake, remember what it's in my head, so that was.
Bridge 21 is the first bridge on Brook Road.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna make the motion.
Oh,
Unless there's.
did
more
you have a
I
question?
did have a question. The other $7,000 is coming from where?
It's it was never obligated.
It was never
It was
obligated,
never
so we don't have to unobligate it.
So that is not necessarily, it was never.
So this then will obligate the entire amount.
Correct, the entire amount.
Thank you.
Whatever, 180, whatever, 180.
21, 790.99.
Yeah,
181, 799.
that's the balances of today.
You have a motion?
I have a motion that we unobligate $173,250 that was obligated at the 10/18/2022 select board meeting for the Bridge 21 project.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Those opposed? Okay, we've unobligated that.
Great.
So do we need another motion?
You know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I make a motion that we expend SLFRF funds in the amount of $180,790.99 for the purpose of municipal workforce retention to pay for payroll expenses for the period of July 1st, 2023 through April 15th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor, say
Aye.
aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Unanimous.
Okay, and,
it's unanimous.
sorry,
Hand
I think-
raise, there's a hand
You have
raised.
more?
Kathy and Bob Sanchez,
I
the hand
don't think I do have more.
There's a clapping emoji.
Oh, that's a clapping emoji. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excellent sign language. written down.
Sorry, it's hard for me to read in the light.
Oh, yeah.
I think I have any.
That was all the things we had on the
Great, that's
agenda
great.
for you.
Yes,
could I
Yes.
just comment that according to Katie Buckley's memo
yes,
on this, that what we've just done is we have created a fund balance in the general fund in
yes.
taxpayer dollars. That's probably the first good financial news this town has had in a
In a
long
while.
time.
Yeah.
And it will help us transition through this year. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of unknown expenses related to this flood, so this is gonna be a big help.
I think that's right. Quick comment, Charlie, and then,
Question, who is Katie Buckley?
Katie Buckley is the representative from Montague, cities and towns, and she specializes in federal funding.
she gave us a written
And the other
report.
person is Stephanie Smith, who's emergency management in Vermont, and she is also has specialization in these issues.
I see, let's see. Road Commissioner report. Can we have that, Josh?
Been speaking, so, let's see, I met on, East Hill Spruce Mountain Road with someone who was having some drainage issues and passed that on to the road foreman this week. And then, so, kind of in a bit of our ongoing, like, discovery of other places that might not be really impacted by what's happened in the past so far, but in areas we can work on now that we have a lot of attention from folks, like we're getting a lot of comments. We've created a citizens reporting form that is on the town website for
Mhm.
anything that people see that is wrong with the roads anywhere in town. They can easily like email and get a response back on us very quickly. And it's another way that we can kind of meet the folks in town who want us to look at this or that without having to chase Michael down and myself by phone. And it's right there on the website. I'll put it up so it's easy to find. Another good potential financial news, we've completed all the submissions for the 2023 Federal Highway Works submissions that was completed in of last week, and I make a few small corrections to some photos, but for the most part, that looks like it's gonna come back to us.
That leads to money, excuse me, that leads to funding.
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
just an important point, I just want to.
and then the rework on the Mill Street Bridge is it began today, but the road will be closed tomorrow. Likely it'll be only a few days of work, and if everything goes very smoothly and there aren't any issues, they could be completed by the end of the day on Friday. And I know that was a big concern for like Billingsley, and I just want to, make sure everyone knows that work is ongoing, it's underway, it's being directed by V-Trans, and it is a V-Trans project. And so but because it was within the federal highway path, and it is considered emergency response work, even if you have to rework, emergency response rework, that is still covered in the 270 days that we have for recouping any funds that we are taking out, which there are some. And then I think that's all I have for the road commission report.
And if you want to just talk about the sidewalk cleaning, just give a plug to, we desperately need a contractor for sidewalk cleaning in the village.
Mhm.
And anybody who's interested, you can email me or Michael Bingham or Josh. And just if somebody could take that contract, that would be wonderful.
You've got the info.
Question?
Yeah, can you just, so the timeline for the Mill Street Bridge, they started work today. The road is gonna be closed, the bridge is gonna be closed for a few days this week,
Yeah.
and then they're done on Friday? Or it may be, but it's a short-term project, right? It's
Yeah,
not,
it is, the work they're gonna be doing is they're going to be raising the bridge. They don't need to move it laterally, at least their assessment as of this morning was they wouldn't need to move it laterally. We had Tristan, and Michael from the water department and the roads department there on site with Michelle Redmond from V-Trans and the representative from Jay McDonald from Dave's Buddy, I think. And so we made sure that everything was, discussed about the crossing, that is the temporary sewer crossing. They're well aware of the positioning of that. They felt they could perform the work, and then anything with the sewer portion of the crossing, since the sewer crossing is temporary, that slight elevation will get removed. Eventually, the permanent crossing goes in at some point if needed. And then there will be removing, lowering the channel, widening the channel from nearly to the mouth of the brook into the Winooski, or, they're gonna go, there is a old concrete weir. I think that is the point in which they're gonna cease work at that point. And then, but they felt that they could raise the bridge up high enough that the work could operate underneath without, without having to relocate the bridge either forward or back or horizontally. And that, for that reason, they felt they could complete it.
That's great news, actually.
And Karen had a question.
Yes.
Karen.
Oh, Karen,
Yeah, not a question. I just want to really call out all the good work that Josh has done and really thank him for taking the lead on both the, with Michael's honor, I know on Federal Highway and getting that paperwork done and also making sure that the Mill Street Bridge stuff moved forward. I just really want to thank him and acknowledge the amount of work that he has done as our road commissioner. So thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
And Mrs. Francis Rose, I want to echo that phrase. And thinking about the auto report form that is record taking, this effortless record taking from the road condition report. This is a system that Josh has created that anyone can now report road condition that automatically gets logged, that goes to email, that creates a paper trail for itself and sees work happening sooner. And this is the kind of creativity we were hoping that you could bring to the treasurer position and hope you will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
very good. Peter?
Not sure if this is a road commissioner or whether this is something you want in the citizens reporting form, speeding. Who asks the sheriff department to put up a post and monitor and enforce? Does that come from the select board? Does that come from the road commissioner? Who does that?
Traditionally, it has been the role of the town clerk to talk to the sheriff's department. As former road commissioner, I also was involved in discussions. Here's the challenge. The sheriff's department is fairly understaffed, and this might incur extra costs to really specifically delegate them to be on East Hill Road. I can make the request, or Josh, and I'll introduce Josh. To
I didn't mention East Hill Road.
Well, I mean, I think that I only say that because I have received more than, my fair share of complaints about speeding in general, but specifically, I think that the increased traffic on East Hill Road has generated, people aren't used to that degree of traffic and that amount of speeding. And I think that this is a backroads problem. It's not.
My question, being an East Hill Road member, and I have complained about that, okay? My question is more point of contact between the town of Plainfield and the sheriff's department. Do we have a formal policy on who is that contact?
I don't think there's a formal policy, but we can initiate one where if you want the road commissioner to do it and so forth. I mean, over the years, I've developed a relationship with people there, but
I just bring that up as a point of potential future discussion.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
I'm
can certainly do that.
Because the individuals who currently sit in offices won't be there forever. I'm just, thinking, where is the best point? And, I'm happy that Bram, in your role as town clerk and former road commissioner, continue to do that for the short term.
But my only comment would be that the calls tend to come to the town clerk
Yeah.
office. So to me, it makes more sense to have the initiation of the sheriff from the town clerk's office.
Yeah, and I just want to say, this is Brown Town Clerk. I just want to say to all those listening, very well aware of the situation on Middle Road and Lower Road as well.
Mhm.
And, there's literally been some racing going on.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not joking, we also are aware, and I've made, the sheriff aware of the motorcycle people, the two motorcyclists who are,
Hmm.
beating kids and
Yep.
tearing them up.
I would like to make one point, kind of a general point. The road crew is putting up signs, speeding signs, speed limit signs. And it kind of brings me back to, Peter, before he was on the board, was concerned about speeding on East Hill Road because that's the road he lives on. And, rather than just come in here and complain about it, he actually looked up the standards, which I appreciate a lot. And I think, that helps us figure out what the next step is when people have a concern and then bring it that way.
I also want to, this is Brown Town Clerk, I also want to say that we have, are gonna have a discussion with District 6 regarding putting a sign at, 302
Hmm.
to warn people.
Good.
So if you think of, one town that comes to mind is Roxbury,
Mhm.
there's a big sign permanent when you cross the thing to make sure you have snow tires and your vehicle is safe. And I think something to warn truckers during the winter that Brook Road is closed and East Hill Road, it has grades of, what is it, up to 13%?
I measured 13, you measured 18, but it's steep.
Yeah.
And we don't, and we've had tractor trailers come through. I think they're just following GPS, so we don't want that. That's great, Graham. Thanks for
We
that.
have Dan and then we have Michael up here.
Yeah,
to
Michael.
talk.
was
Yeah,
in there.
Dan has been for a while.
Who's that?
Dan and then Michael.
Oh, Dan?
Yeah. So, yeah, I would just, say that we have a contract with the sheriff, so it would be good to know how far into that we are, if there are gonna be extra costs. I believe if there's gonna be extra costs to the sheriff's contract, that would be something that would come before the select board. I don't think the town clerk can unilaterally up the amount we're paying the sheriff, so I think we do have a role. If we're gonna call the sheriff out, if it is gonna cost the town extra money. And I also would say, I'm glad, I agree the town clerk should be the point of contact. I think the road commissioner already has way too many duties for a completely voluntary role. To add, speeding enforcement of any kind to that role would seem to be a bad idea.
We have
Mhm.
Mike- we have
And then we have
Michael.
Michael.
Yeah,
Michael's
and then
next.
your turn.
Yes, I wanted to add my voice as someone recommending the Bram or the town clerk, let's say, be the person who does that notification. Also, as emergency management director, I tend to take that kind of question, which can come up during a disaster. For instance, if we need extra help at the highways or any road closures that might require police help, I would always pass that to the town clerk rather than ask for it directly. So I think that's an appropriate way to direct the energy. And also would add that I don't know if I need a town resolution to do it, but I do have the idea that in the middle road access to, if for truck drivers who want to get from 302 to 2, that the fact that they are still using East Hill Road, even as it gets more dangerous with changes in weather, I would wonder if there is a necessitates a select board motion to have me redirect using my Waze route map software to redirect traffic to Middle Road of those truckers. In other words, to have them take a safer route than East Hill Road.
You have that power. I'm sorry, Michael, this is Francis Rose. You have that power to reroute on Waze?
Yes.
Like other traffic beside other traffic?
Yes.
I
Okay, thank you.
haven't used that power, but it goes back to actually at the eclipse when we might have needed to close a road. I'm now what is called a Waze partner, or the town of Plainfield is a Waze partner, and I am the one who has the ability to do that rerouting, or at least to mark a route as being preferred as opposed to another one which might be closed. And at this point, all of Brook Road is still not marked as closed, and it should be.
I think this needs some discussion, but that sounds like a great offer and to me, and but I'd like to know more about the route, whether Middle Road's the right route, whether there's some other route we could use perhaps.
I have,
Brandon?
I have tested all those routes in terms of the grades and also in terms of the amount that is paved and the kind of turns that occur. And it's between Lower Road, Middle Road, and where you would enter Middle Road from the Route 110 traffic circle on Route 302 is actually almost a straight shot. It's actually quite appropriate, I think, if a tractor trailer wants to do that. So anyway, that's the
Okay, well, that's great. You've done a lot of work on this, but we have no idea what that work is. So I'd like to see something before we make any decision on that.
sure thing.
Yeah. Yes.
The town clerk, I just wanted to answer Dan's query regarding, so we have a contract and it's about $10,000 a year. We usually do not exceed that contract and we're probably running to probably spend 8 or 9, maybe Old Home Days change that a little bit, I don't know. But I think the thing is that the rate, and this is obviously all a select board decision, and I'll just present what the facts are, but he might request, a higher rate as they have manpower issues to do something like that. But in other words, it might go a little bit beyond our contract, but once again, we can, the select board can discuss that and the issues.
And that would be I would think that would be a town meeting discussion too, with some backing that would then help us. If we have to increase our budget, we'll do it. Then, could we put off the School Street discussion? Jonathan's here. I'd like to talk about the ambulance services contract that needs to be signed.
You said put off as in just switch the order?
I'm sorry, switch the order.
Not move to another.
No, we're gonna do it, but
You're just gonna call, yeah.
because Jonathan came in from Callis to. So can you present the issue here?
Okay, towns in Vermont have faced exponentially rising costs for emergency services, dispatch, etc. Currently, we work with East Montpelier, and obviously Jonathan can speak to this more directly.
And we had a discussion here.
They came in and they
Yeah.
warned that there are going to be big increases, and I don't know, but it just might be 25% or something like that. I don't know.
Well, they gave us rates, right?
Well, that actually was the old contract.
No, the dates were wrong, but the numbers were right?
I
They had accidentally not moved the dates 3 years in the front, but the actual numbers were the same that they presented, I'm pretty sure, where we're going up slightly every year.
Yeah, and the numbers they presented were higher than right now.
Okay.
I believe you're right.
If indeed those are the numbers, and maybe Jonathan can comment on that.
Yeah.
Obviously, with emergency services and ambulance, the teamwork aspect of this isn't simply switching a vendor like, something, a rug delivery guy or uniform cleaner. This is life and death, and the people in emergency services have to be comfortable with whatever decision is made.
That's why I asked Jonathan here.
And obviously Jonathan can speak to it, but that's what it is, and I don't know if it's worth pursuing other contractors.
I just like to hear from your perspective, Jonathan, how's the system work? I mean, there's a call, different agencies are brought in, or how's it work? Can you talk closer? Yeah, thanks.
So we would actually be happy to work with anybody, but East Montpelier is extremely close. Response time is super important for any service. And as far as the money, I've never seen any of the budget figures before. I signed a contract with them, but that was just the agreement. So I don't know what it costs before. And it's a new contract. Don't know what it's going to cost. I don't know if it's gonna be any different than the other project. They're gonna add a lot of response time because everybody else is part of the way. So before East Montpelier got an ambulance service, we had Cabot, which was a volunteer service, and it would be 15 or 20 minutes before the ambulance came because they had to get somebody to the station to get the ambulance and then get it from Cabot to Marshfield, Plainfield. So having East Montpelier so close has been like absolutely wonderful for emergency services in the town.
And are they full-time there?
They are, they're
Okay.
24/7, they've got their staff all the time, so the response time is the same in the middle of the night as it is in the middle of the day. And as far as quality of EMTs, I've never seen anything but top quality work from them, so.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak to the money and all, but as far as the, the caliber of the EMTs, they're top notch, and it's impossible to get somebody that's gonna be anywhere near as close, so.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. That helps.
So
Peter,
just bring to the town clerk, John, if you could, there were a series of errors, not just the dates, but also the name of the entities and so forth. I think Carol was going over this with me.
It still refers to the FAST squad here in Plainfield.
Right, and what I'm just saying is I just wanna, Jonathan, if it's possible for you to circle back with them and just ask them, if those numbers that they're presenting, which didn't seem, I don't know, I've gotta look at it again, I didn't think it was the draconian increase that they were talking about before, but, if you could just make sure that if those are the numbers the select board can consider.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have the contract here that was sent to us. And the dates clearly are the current contract, which expires June 30th, 2025. And it says in the first year, let's assume the dates get corrected, would be 55,232, going to 56,890, and then 58,596. But I did not have the old contract, so I don't know if these are the updated numbers or the new ones.
Well, but this is the contract that we're in right now, is your understanding?
The document that was sent to us, the attachment that was sent to us says that, this shall commence at midnight on July 1, 2022, and expire at midnight, June 30, 2025. When really we should be talking about beginning July 1, 2025, and expiring at the end of 3 years.
Which does make me wonder if this is the current.
Yeah, and so
number.
I don't know if those numbers are right, and then there's also the terminology of, we've changed the names here at the fire department, so.
Well, I would like, that they came to us suggesting that it was gonna be a super large increase. I just wanna see what that is.
Well, you haven't received anything that would go from July 1st, 2025? Sounds like that's what we should be acting on. Shouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that's where the confusion I think is
Yeah.
the person who came and presented from East Montpelier asked that this document that Peter was just reading from be shared with us. So the question is did he share the wrong document? Did he just not update the dates on the document? Or what? Because this is what he asked to be shared after our meeting.
Yes,
Yeah, this is not what we should be signing. The dates are wrong.
that's right.
Well, no, yeah.
The
That's
name
right.
is wrong. The numbers may be the right numbers, but it's.
My sense was,
I think he sent us the wrong attachment.
I think he sent us what we're in and not what they're proposing.
I'm sorry, Bren, the town clerk, I will send tomorrow morning, I will send all of you, what our current, what we paid out to them so far this year. And,
Yeah.
see, you can look at, see what that is.
Is there any way to clarify whether we have a new contract coming
Well,
to us?
I was so confused by the dates and the numbers, I didn't know what that, also the name of the entity was wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Okay.
I should have looked it up, I just. didn't know.
You should be able to tell, because it's 3 installments. If you go and look at the August 1st installment, you should be
Right.
able to crosswalk it and see, does it match
Yes,
what they sent us or?
that's what it is.
That's great. If you could just let us know.
Yes.
Paul,
Okay.
Paul S.
Where?
Where,
Was he the one who was here?
he's the one
Yeah.
who sent the contract. I mean,
Oh,
it seems like a simple query to Paul
yeah.
to clarify, where is
Yeah.
the contract that we ought be motioning on?
Right,
Yes.
Thank you.
yep. Great. Thank you, Jonathan. Any other questions? Okay, let's go to the discussion of parking in front of 20 School Street.
excuse me, so
Oh.
we'll come back to this at our next meeting.
Yes, yeah.
But
Well, we assume that they'll have a contract ready for us, but when the contract's ready, we'll look at it.
So, just to give a little bit of background, we're referencing the short stretch of road that goes from Route 2 to Main Street in front of the old hardware store. And for many years, there have been many disagreements about parking in that area and the challenges that intersection faces. There is a document that the town, this was something that was from, I don't know, 30 years ago, but there's a document that says that, I think it's up to 9 cars can park in that area. I think that, no, I know, but nevertheless, it is a document that shows that. I think that my guess is that that was a commercial business at one time, and that the person was friends with the select board back then, and just said, look, let me give you free rein. Probably traffic was a lot less, and so there, at one point, the hardware store actually owned the land.
I thought I remembered that
Yes.
being discussed.
So
Yeah.
there was
Throw another
there was
wrinkle.
a query about that. I think that for all practical purposes, you know, if you want to prevent eminent domain, you have to block off the thing every year. That hasn't been done for decades. So I don't think the claim of ownership by the building owner has much merit. The whole area falls into the highway right of way. And that sort of triangle in the middle would be removed and make this whole discussion fairly moot, starting in 2028, 29. But here are the challenges, and here's what the background of the current situation is. I've received a number of very animated phone calls and 2 office visits with people who feel that their lives were threatened by people parking oddly in that section. There's concern about emergency vehicles. They say that the situation is untenable and unsafe. The owner, who I had one brief discussion with, feels that he is being picked on and singled out, and he feels that things have been a certain way for a long time. And why is everybody picking on him? I would concede that while it was the old hardware store, there were vehicles parked in front. Now he has apartments there, and tenants are parking permanently. So I was hoping that perhaps we could make a compromise or suggestion of what would be okay sanctioned parking and rough number of spaces to avoid, you know, legal problems and so forth. I think.
Well,
Do you have a question?
Well, how many does he need? How many apartments has he got rented?
He's not here, correct?
Well, I thought he was invited to the meeting. but
Okay.
I don't.
He's not here. Okay.
He's not here. It's unfortunate. I invited him. This is actually, there was a meeting before which I invited him to, and he didn't respond. You know, perhaps I should just plant the seed now, and we should have a further discussion if you guys want to go look at the thing and make a suggestion to what would be palatable. My concern is that, you know, I think that my read of the owner is that he is not gonna take it lying down, and that we could get dragged into a legal thing. I'm sure we prevail, but I think in the interest of comity and the fact that there are people who are living there, perhaps some compromise could be forged.
Well, let's look at that. We have apartments. I don't know how many there are. Four apartments, so at least 4 cars. We have a public parking space just up the road. I'd like Jonathan to talk about getting fire trucks around that corner and going down Route 2.
Yeah, I say it because I actually been asked you if something could be done about that. Not just for the emergency vehicles, but also several times have been on the plant still headed towards East Montpelier. You come from Marshfield and have to come up the hill and then turn that sharp corner. to go
I've seen
down.
that.
I've seen it happen half a dozen times. And that's in the summer, as soon as it gets snow, it's hard to get out much farther away from the building. So, yeah, as far as emergency vehicles, rounding that corner and getting through to get to Marshfield, it definitely can be a problem. It hasn't been yet, but
Okay.
there has to be something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I think, well, to me, anyone have any thoughts on this? I was just gonna say to me that public safety is the critical thing here, and where there is parking a few steps from where the cars are now, and maybe limited to a couple cars, maybe limited to one side. I don't know what the answer is, but
I've just seen lots of cars on both sides, there's no
Mhm.
way to direct anything,
so,
pretty dangerous.
I think I'm not worried about the repercussions as much as trying to do the right thing on behalf of the town.
If you wanna say we can prohibit parking and, put up the parking signs and stuff, but we can do that.
We should look at it though.
Perhaps,
Yeah, we should look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, sorry.
Yeah, I would just say, it feels like we should actually like measure the space and figure out what a typical roadway would be and then how much more space there is and try to figure it out that way. I mean, while there is the town lot there, I think the town lot might even say no overnight parking
It does say it.
on it, so that,
We
right
changed-
now, we currently do not allow folks to park there.
Right, and people probably got
from
used to
steps away.
that.
So we should just look at it and make sure that we want to be safe, but also like, if there safely could be a car there or 2 cars there, then we should look at that, because there's lots of different places where, people park. I mean.
Yeah,
I don't know.
mean,
I don't know the situation at all about the people who live in those apartments, the accessibility of those apartments, if we make people park blocks away.
mhm,
Like, these are all things where we would be making those apartments less accessible for future people.
true, and that's a fair analysis.
To get safe though.
Go ahead.
So from 2008 to 2011, I would occasionally work in that location at 20 School Street. And then from 2011 to 2016, I owned a business which was located at that location. And then from 2021 until present, I now live at 20 School Street, apartment 1. And the situation with parking is that it has been on and off in place during the existence of businesses in that building. We now have residences, and that's a whole can of worms that we get into another time. But if we are looking to encourage more units of rentals and places for people to live in town, considering recent circumstances, I think that this is moving in the direction that the town wants to move. There is a sidewalk in front of that building. It has not been maintained or serviced whatsoever by the town in the entirety of my time I've ever occupied that building in any capacity. It is illegal to park on a sidewalk in Plainfield. I know that is a hard thing for everyone to understand, but it is true. You cannot park on a sidewalk. If the town wants to solve the parking problem about what is happening in front of the building there, maybe a good way to consider an improvement to that area to delineate it as the place that is for the traveled road would be to improve the sidewalk at that location of the project. Second point I wanted to make is that this is also part of our federal highway works administration connector. And there's no way that that intersection is meeting any current standards by which you would assemble an intersection. And, we have not given full attention to the possible funding source of the FHWA until recently. And in recent years, there may be potential opportunities for funding that we were aware of. It may be having the need to improve this location for travel, safety, visibility, etc. It is scheduled to be worked on at some point in the future. That they keep getting moved back every 5 years. It's a 5-year plan. And so we may be able to leverage more attention to that location and its safety and its design. And in the designs that I have seen in the past, there is quite a bit of parking once you redesign that location. Directly in front of the building with an elevated sidewalk, that would improve accessibility to those buildings. So it is not an impossible thing for people to design that intersection to have more parking than what is essentially being talked about tonight. If we can get that project moved forward and get the requisite funding.
Okay, thanks. I think it's clear we need to do a little more on this, especially, we need to look at it and then think about where parking could be if it can't be there. But it also, I've seen trailers come through there that can't maneuver. I mean, they can't do it. They have to go up the hill and turn around somewhere up the street, so.
Could I ask Josh
Oh, sorry.
a
yeah.
question as a tenant? Do you have a lease?
I did when I initially moved in, yes.
Did the lease say you had a parking space?
I don't know.
Okay, I just wondered if there,
Hmm.
there may be some backlash
legal-
from the landlord, but there may be also some backlash from tenants who say, I have a parking place that
Good point.
says so here. So I think there's parties we need to touch. base.
Yeah, well, the landlord needs to contact us first and tell us what what his agreements are with all the tenants. So, but the tenants side too is important.
Michael has a question and I have a comment.
Michael?
I remember discussion about this back in 2018 at the select board meeting, and it was brought to our attention at that time that the land is upon which that turnout in front of the building occurs actually belongs with that property, and that there's a conveyance to allow traffic to pass over it, that it doesn't actually in control of the town or the state. It's a private extension of the land upon which the building sits. So I think that's a piece of research that should be done too.
In the state right away,
Clearly, I'm sorry,
the state right away,
it's a state,
It's in the state, right?
it's within the state right away.
yes, yes.
Extending 50 feet from the center of the road, the state has control over that space. And.
Good point.
So if you're turning and going for Markfield, the right side is the problem. Most people park super tight to the building, they're obviously trying to stay
Mhm.
right, but it's impossible to have cars on both sides and have 2 cars pass through.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good point. That's a good point. Thanks. You have a question?
Well, I guess my question would be, if it's in the state right of way and that's Route 2 is a state road, what is our role versus the state's role in stopping this parking and stuff?
Brad?
Brad Tillman, the town clerk. I had a conversation with the sheriff's department regarding what who has say and so forth. And it sounds like a bit of a gray area. In other words, I was wondering if the town put up no parking signs that they respected, and he did not give a clear answer to that question, but he said exactly what Jonathan just said, which is that the building, that all of that area is within the state right of way. But I think that if we, my sense is that we could do something and it wouldn't be out of bounds for us to do something. I don't
Okay.
think the state's gonna do anything.
I just meant like if if we're concerned about a lawsuit, what is within our actual jurisdiction of the town? If we take action that's actually not within our jurisdiction and we get sued, we're more likely to actually have a problem than if we do something that's within our bounds.
Right, I can send you what Gemelli, the former town lawyer, did research on ownership issues with this property. And I'll try to dig that up. It's from 2015, I think. But yeah, that's a good point.
This is Francis Rhodes.
Oh, sorry, yep.
I saw a diagram, plan proposed, dated, I think 2015, about that intersection. I don't know if it's the most current, for the proposal for how to redesign and rebuild that intersection.
2015.
From 2015, it's on the town, it's on the town website.
No,
It's not the most current. That's, what's,
there've been multiple designs since then.
I guess my
Yeah,
wonder
this is wondering,
is
yeah.
if the redesigns have taken into consideration this question of ownership by another party. And it doesn't seem like the 2015 certainly was not taking into consideration some other ownership. It was state right of way of like, this is what we need to do. This is the space we need to use to make this intersection safer and more comfortable to use.
With the change, that parcel might not be, it won't be used. And
Exactly.
therefore, it could, if there's a question about who owns it, they'd have to do the research on that. But then it would be just parking. It wouldn't be a through.
I mean,
parcel.
I think I'm also just wanting to point out that this is a temporary fix. If that redesign is happening, if the rebuild is happening,
Mm.
like whatever solution we come up with in the near term is a patch until the
Mhm.
redesign. And then, it's interesting, the question that Josh brought, can we move forward the redesign instead of moving back the redesign and rebuild? And then coming back to the question of town egress, if there's this Venn diagram of we manage a second egress out of town, then we can move forward rather than back the redesign potentially of that intersection. And then all of a sudden, the sacrifices that we're talking about, asking people to make around parking and egress out of that exit of the village is a shorter period of time and maybe more palatable to receive and understand.
Cool.
Yes.
I did reach out to Tammy Farnham, who
Mhm.
formerly was on the board and was the point person for that intersection.
That intersection project.
I haven't gotten a reply from her yet.
Oh, but you would probably know the answer to some of these
Yeah.
questions.
There
Yeah.
is, on the town website, a redesign plan and a, agreement between the town and the state for that. It's unsigned. At least the copy that's on the website. And so one of the questions I had for her is this the current contract? But the design is basically removes that island and lowers.
Lowers the whole
thing
road and, yeah.
Several feet, so.
Go ahead.
Brad Tillman, Town Clerk, we have committed to the project. The town has committed to the project.
Okay, so that, I think it's just an updated version of that then should be posted for the one that's there.
Yeah. I think so.
Is that Dawn?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to point out, like in discussions that if you have with the owner of the building or anyone, that to keep in mind, passenger vehicles have gotten much bigger. I mean, it's been decades that people have like had conflicts about that intersection and the parking and that little area, but in that time, vehicles have gotten just so much bigger. So I think that probably leads to there being scary situations, like even more than there used to be. I don't know.
Yep. Even just pickup trucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of, yeah.
Let,
that's what I mean,
let's,
yeah.
shall we all just kind of take a peek at
Yeah.
specifically at that intersection and next time we discuss this, and hopefully with the landlord here, we can figure out some options and think about the parking either in Mill Street parking or the lot across from the Opera House. Okay, let's table that for now. Okay, the next item is the discussion about appointments of select board chair, vice chair and a secretary. Not requirement other than the secretary. I believe the secretary is a requirement. But it seems like a vice chair might make sense because I may take a day off here and there. And
That's why you want a vice chair?
That's the only reason.
Then I won't vote for that.
As I say, it's an optional thing. It was more, I put it on more to discuss because, I do think, the secretary wouldn't be taking minutes, necessarily, but would be the one who can be contacted to, about minutes or about issues that had to do with the board. The vice chair sits in when the chair can't do it. So I just wanted to discuss that and see if that made any sense.
I have a question. As
Yes.
of right now, if you weren't here, one of us would kind of.
We could vote
We
to
could- we
pick
could-
anybody.
Yeah, you can choose.
Yes,
On a
Yeah.
night-to-night basis
Yes.
and not as an ongoing.
Yes.
basis. That's the difference. Thank you.
yes.
Yeah,
We do
yeah,
that.
it could be done at the meeting.
Gotcha.
So that's why I say it's not a requirement. It's more of a convenience, I think, to the clerk's office to be able to have somebody to talk to if the chair is not available. And the same is true of secretary.
I mean, I think I have another follow-up question, Francis Rose,
Mhm.
which is on the emails, I presume, Carl, that you are getting emails that the rest of us are not getting as select board chair. Would then the co-chair be CC'd on those communications, so you're not the only one looking at them?
The only time I should be getting emails that you're not getting is if I'm having a contact with one of the other board members. So because we can't have everybody involved as an email chain. So yeah, so the end of that question was what? It was, so the answer is, I may be getting some emails you're not getting, but it's only because of the
And not,
because of the rules, yeah.
and not because you are uniquely the contact,
No.
point of contact for commissions or working groups.
And this brings up something that Bram and I have talked about is the chair, the people on the board who have a particular interest in something, who would like to be the point person, so that if Carol has a question about if somebody's kind of the board road connection, I will say, because we have a road commissioner, but somebody on the board who's interested in roads could be the contact for the town clerk office. Does that?
If we're on Tilton Clerk, I think, obviously, choosing a vice chair or secretary is very important. I just want to remind the board, we have, we have to choose before the December 31st, we have to choose, a healthcare plan. And, I think it might be helpful if a member of the, board might, take that on as a portfolio. Not that, I have no problem giving you guys the data and this and that, but I think that's coming up upon us quickly. It's just, there are a lot of complicated issues. It's not just picking a plan.
Yeah, okay. When you presented it, and I've tried to get the details of what particular roles you might see. But one was health, I know. One was road, one was perhaps the fast squad or fire department, just the connections that they kind of keep tabs on what they're up to and what they need. It's an idea, Dan.
Yeah, two things. One, can we confine comments to the vice chair secretary idea, and then we have a separate item for the specialization? Just so we're not conflating the two issues.
Yes.
Is that
good.
okay?
That's
The-
great.
My second
Thank
thing
you.
is, I think the other emails you probably get, Carl, is you're listed on the town website along with Kristen for agenda setting for this meeting.
Mhm.
So if somebody wants to put something on this meeting
Mhm.
agenda, they email you
Yes,
and Kristen. So that would be the only other set of emails that the chair is getting.
right.
For someone requesting, I would like you to take action on this, or this agreement, this grant thing.
Right. That's correct. And other than that, everybody gets the emails that I get.
Two comments. One,
Michael
Michael has a question
yeah,
or a
thanks.
comment, and I see how it grows resiliency. Then that's The items that get on these meeting agendas, having another set of eyes on.
Would make
before-
sense.
Would make sense
Yeah,
before,
absolutely.
before the agendas are published.
Mhm.
And then
We can decide any way we want to how to do that. Michael?
You stole.
I want to, this is Michael Billingsley speaking as Emergency Management Director. One of the things that you've obviously seen is that we've had two official declared disasters here, plus a couple of close ones in the last 2 years, and they're going to be more frequent. So I've always wished, along with, I imagine, Jonathan and the FAST Squad, that we could have a collaborative arrangement with someone on the select board or the select board as a whole to create an emergency plan that would actually kick into place when an emergency starts to happen that's town-wide. And that requires actually another, I think, not just therefore the FAST Squad, Carl, but also emergency management, forming, having somebody in the select board that we could consider our point of contact and somebody who would be able to drill down on that with us. I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. Yep. Graham.
Just to Dan's point about restricting discussion to the chair and vice chair and secretary. Under Vermont statute, if there is no emergency management director appointed, the chair becomes the emergency management director. So it ties in with this discussion about,
Mhm.
just so everybody's aware of it.
Okay. Yes, we have a guest.
I was the.
Your name, please?
Mark Mahaly for the,
Sorry.
Mark Mahaly, I was the vice chair over in Cal's. Most of the time, I agree.
Mhm.
But it was a real convenience because when Sharon, the chair, knew she was going on vacation, she and I would sit and work it out ahead of time. She'd call me, say, I'm going on vacation, work it out. One time, she was gonna be away, and so we knew I was gonna be sharing a special hearing on whether a road should be closed. So I just kept chairing it all the way through, even when she was back.
Mhm.
And sometimes she had to leave, she had a family. And she would just leave, boom, and I just step up. But aside from that, I didn't do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
she and I talked sometimes, but that's it.
Okay, well, thanks. Actually, that collaboration prior to a meeting makes some sense to me, because if you do it at the meeting, then whoever you select isn't trapped at all.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a good reason for it.
Carl,
Well,
yes. Is this something that we're just discussing tonight, or is there,
Uh,
what do you see as the process moving forward?
I want people to think about an area that they might be
You're
interested
talking about the
in.
secretary and vice chair piece.
On that piece,
Well, that's the piece we're discussing right
Yes.
now.
right, so, do we want a vice chair? Do we want a secretary? I don't think we have to make a decision tonight, but because it was just kind of sprung on everybody. But, that was the reason and logic behind it.
Are we allowed to talk about this by email? Transparent question.
No.
No,
Okay. fair
no,
enough.
we need to talk about it here.
I mean, I think it seems like a good idea. We should be spreading the work.
Mhm.
And I think having a vice chair helps do that,
Mhm.
especially for Carl, but for whoever the chair is.
We
Um,
can,
And so I think, I wonder if it makes sense for us as the five of us prepared to bring nominations for those two positions, including yourself if you want, to the next meeting.
next night, next time, but we
And then
can,
we can just make that decision at the next meeting. Does that make sense? to
should,
folks?
or we can tonight, we can have the positions, but not the individuals,
True, yeah.
right? And then we could come next time with candidates.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And do we want the vice chair and secretary?
I definitely see the utility of a vice chair
Yeah,
and not quite seeing the utility of a secretary, given that we have an administrative staff who actually creates the minutes,
yep,
and then we all approve the minutes as a full board, so I don't know what the secretary's role would
Right.
be.
I agree.
okay,
So yeah, unless there's a specific role that I'm missing, I think, but having a vice chair, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So do we want to have a motion for the position of vice chair and then come next time with a thought on that?
Motion to establish the position of vice chair on the select board of Plainfield.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Great, so we'll come with some ideas and anyone interested should set themselves forward. And we've kind of, this was just a discussion as well, was the different roles, different select board members might have. And which is something we also should be thinking about and come next time with ideas, if somebody has a hankering to be here.
Well, I just said this to Rose a minute ago, but the comment that was made, you made about having two people to confer on the agenda. I think we could do that for all these other areas as well, basically a subcommittee. Of
Like
two.
little committees, yeah.
Little, you know, and it's like, because I think having the second set of eyes and ears to bounce
Oh,
ideas
yeah.
off of is good. I mean, somebody could be the lead person, you know, et cetera, something like that, but. And I don't know how many areas we want to create, and I don't think we have to do them all at once or anything
We
like
don't.
that. In terms of the healthcare, I'd be willing to, you know, work on that. I have the time to do
With
that
somebody,
now.
yeah,
Yeah, and I have background in
Yeah,
that area,
yeah.
so.
that'd be great.
And I mean, broader than that, that is part of personnel, and I've have familiarity with personnel policies. We talked about job descriptions before for,
Mhm.
you know, treasurer and town clerk and stuff like that, and I think, you know, if we could put, you know, personnel as opposed to just healthcare.
So
is-
teams make,
Yeah.
that makes more sense to me too.
Resonant.
Well, what I'd like to get is maybe categories that are potentially going to come up.
Yeah.
You talked about the healthcare discussions, clearly is one,
Which Peter's looping into a broader category of personnel.
and personnel, yeah. We would like, I think, to have
That's
it
better.
clear what everybody's doing
Yeah.
and what they're required to do. Yes.
I'll just, one thing I would caution us around in using terms like committees is under the new Open Meetings Act.
Yeah,
Any committee created by the select board is on Open Meeting Act, which I'm totally fine with it being open. But then the same recording and minutes requirements of the
Okay.
select board would be for every one of those.
Mhm.
Seems like it would turn into an administrative problem if we have
Could be.
create 5 new committees. They're all gonna have to have a Zoom link. And we only have one Zoom account as a town. They would have to, you know, put them out. We'd have to have the recordings on the website. Like, there's just a lot of like steps that would have to
so there'll
happen.
be teams, not.
Well, I think, I mean, we would be just careful we don't set up new things. I think having liaisons to the Development Review Board or to the Road Commission, to the Water Wastewater Commission, those are things that we could have people do as
Mhm.
part of the work that's already happening, rather than creating new work.
Thank you, that's really good
Kieran's got
point.
her hand up. Kieran?
Yeah, just to weigh
Karen?
in and thank you, Dan, because I also think that liaison is the right term. And you know, Carl is serving as liaison to the grants work group. And we don't call that a committee either, because it's a work group and it's under the grants administrator, although we are keeping minutes and we're gonna post them and all of that. But I was thinking, you know, if at some point Carl wanted to not have to be the liaison and someone else on the board felt like it was more in their wheelhouse to do that work, like, it's just, you know, it's just an opportunity. Carl slotted in because he just did. And I know he's got a lot of things on his plate. So I just wanted to open that up and say, if someone's big on grants work and likes to get involved in that aspect, we're open to have, you know, representative on it. And Carl, it's not that I don't love working with you, I do, but I
That's
just
okay.
really appreciate all the things that you're touching into right now. So,
And
Yep.
I just know that Michael's been asking for someone since I've been on the board, like, you know, someone to represent.
Yeah, well, I think
Is that
we
gonna be
kind of,
Patty?
Maybe,
Can I speak? There's one other important point, which is that the charter for the Hazard Mitigation Committee, which was passed by the select board, and revised and passed by the select board, has always indicated that a member of the select board would be participating in the hazard mitigation, which basically is forward-looking at all the ways in which the town can prevent harm from doing more than the minimal. And therefore, that invitation exists and continues to exist, that now that we have a 5-person board, it might be possible for someone to actually step into that role too. You know, and that would also interface you with emergency management.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, should we leave this till next time?
Yeah, we have to think about stuff.
So the kind of last official discussion is on the completion of select board minutes. And we're doing better, and we're working at getting the minutes done on time, which is 5 days from the meeting. There was some discussion about AI being used to prepare the minutes and then have them reviewed by our clerk. And anyone have any thoughts on that? Yes, sir.
Sorry.
My understanding is, Kristen is, producing minutes from the Zoom recording.
If you speak up a little.
Kristen Brodsky's producing minutes from the Zoom recording?
Yes.
Josh is speaking. I recommended a piece of software called eScript that I think would work well for that. And I've heard it recommended for transcriptions of conversations with multiple people. And it's come up in a different area of my life. So, and again, I recommend it, I don't know if I've ever used.
Okay. Have you ever used it personally? No. Has anyone?
No.
No.
Not a techie.
I know Mary and the library, they've tried it, and they did actually, it produced way bigger amount of minutes than they wanted, but they could glean them. You know, the way we've talked around here, we could glean them, they could glean them and make it work.
I am old school when it comes to minutes. I think the shorter, the better.
Yeah.
The as succinct, the better. As long as we have the recordings for people to go if they want to listen to the whole thing and see every word or something. Minutes should record, I mean, there are things in the statute that says, you know, you have to record who was there, motions taken, who voted, how, et cetera. We don't need to have every word that everybody thought about what should happen with bridge number, you know, 21, you know, et cetera. You know, a minute should say there was lengthy discussion about Bridge 21 and the following action was taken. You know, I think, you know, when I look at some of the things that are posted, it's like pages and pages. It's like,
Well, who really reads that? And the issue you bring up is very pertinent in that we have a recording. If somebody really wants detail and wants to get the gist of the conversation, they can go to that recording. But to ask Kristen to sit for 2 hours every time we have a meeting, and it's actually more than that, because she has to write and then stop and write and stop, seems really inefficient to me.
yeah, it was.
So
The only comment I have about AI is my healthcare provider has now used that, and it seems to create a good after visit summary there. So they just started using that about three or four visits ago. So it's like, okay.
So but luckily we have Dan here who is willing to take minutes, but it will also seem like having somebody sitting here would be a nice option. Somebody not necessarily on the board.
I thought that didn't the town do that?
We've had volunteers in the past.
Yeah. We had volunteers in the past.
Well, they were compensated.
They were compensated, yes.
Okay,
I mean, it wasn't, it was 75, 80 meeting, that kind of, in that range, and the town meeting was 200 and something.
yeah, okay, thank you. That's good to know.
Okay.
So that's an option as well.
I'm curious to follow up with Kristen. I know she was going to basically try a few different AI services, softwares, I don't know what to call them, AIs, to see which fit best this particular task group.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to follow up with her.
And she was gonna look into that.
Yeah, she was gonna look into it. I don't know where she's at with it now, though.
Well, we should talk to her. We should see if she's willing to come in and take minutes. I mean, that would be great if she'd be interested in that.
No.
You don't think so?
I think that that's gonna work
Okay.
for her to do that.
But there may be a volunteer out there or somebody who wants to do it.
Just a little bit of history, so we have, one of the difficulty of getting somebody to do it is the work. Because we went through, I was on a board where we ended up going through, I think it was about 5 different people, and we had to spend a lot of time revising minutes because people missed something, so it's not, you have to hire the right person who's detail oriented, so it's not, you may very well get somebody, but whether or not they're gonna do the work to your satisfaction is a different.
Mhm.
But I think I agree with Peter's, like, the minutes should be pretty simple, like, especially
Yeah.
when we have recordings. 251 towns are having select board meetings or town meetings or city meetings and doing notes and doing this. There's no way that every single one of them are doing them like as specifically and detail oriented as maybe we've been requiring in the past. But now that we have a recording, I mean, as long as we're following state law when it comes to what's required in the minutes, that's what we should be using as our guide for the written minutes.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is the simpler version.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like simple, but I guess we need maybe some more discussion with Kristen and other towns and see what they're doing. Yes.
Mark Mahali, one of the things that I've seen starting to happen, and I'm involved in the East Cal's Community Trust. And, somebody just literally in the meeting does what you were saying, short, what the action items,
Mhm.
et cetera. But the most useful thing is at the end of the minutes, the to-do list.
Hmm.
That really helps, like tonight, you've got about 5 things
Hmm.
that are there to do and who's supposed to do them. That really is a nice thing when it's on the minutes, then you can actually look at it. Otherwise, if they're really long, like who looks?
Mm-hmm. That's what I worry about. Any other thoughts for the moment? Okay. We have some minutes, but we also want to have, give authorization to Bram, our town clerk, to sign a paving contract for the Mill Street Bridge, which is underway. The bridge's work is underway now. The idea is we want to pave the approaches to that bridge because they're going to now be on an incline. And they're going to be a muddy mess for a lot of the year unless they're paved. So that would be, we'd need a motion to get authorization to Bram
Okay.
to sign that contract.
Can I make a motion that we authorize town clerk Graham Tobin to sign paving contract for Mill Street Bridge?
Brandon, town clerk, I would request that the authorization be to sign the paving contract in general, because it's more than the Mill Street Bridge, there are other projects.
Oh, right, this is
Okay.
patches, okay.
There are
So
a
can you
bunch
do that
of
again?
other,
Can you modify that?
Yeah. I would like to make a motion that we authorize town clerk Graham Tobin to sign paving contract for roads in general for,
right, you might need the amounts, it's in the folder, I believe, it's 89.
Mill Street Bridge and what else?
it's a bunch of things. There's probably 6 or 7 sites, but I would just say, you have to figure.
Yeah, it's 89,000, it's more than, obviously more than just that.
Okay, so we're gonna say that,
Wait, what is it?
88,000?
What's the number?
89,440.
Okay, so is that what we're gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to authorize town clerk Rand Tobin to sign paving contract that is going to cost $89,440.
And, usually, the name of the company is mentioned in the.
Okay, is that here?
Right here.
That's Pike.
Pike Industries, do I do it again?
No, I think we can just. add that.
Okay, Pike
yeah.
Industries for
Yeah.
$89,440.
And you should mention that there is we have a fund that helps pay for this.
Yeah, we have,
Can we just,
funds.
sorry.
I'm
should we
sorry.
Need a motion, we need to.
We
second
need to
it.
second it, yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Thank you.
discussion?
We have a paving fund, it's not gonna have a complete amount, but there is some of the work that is probably falls under, reimbursement.
Emergency.
Emergency and so forth,
Yep.
so I think the figure, hold on, Josh can speak to this.
And a portion of that is gonna be paid out of water and wastewater because
Hmm.
in the interest of like sharing. Some, town resources and having. The uneven complication of getting 2 pavers out.
Yep.
The operator and the road foreman have been cooperating extensively to. Minimize the costs for this.
Good.
So, a portion of that will get paid out of water and.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Vote? Oh,
Question.
one more.
So this is after the fix. After the bridge gets raised, then it'll get paved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also a lot of other things.
Yeah, and then
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we have authorized that. We have minutes that were, accounts payable.
Yeah.
These are October 11 and 25, 2024. These are for, let's see here.
there are things we need to sign.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is,
You need to sign this too, which is the Mill Street Bridge rental. You need to just sign the second.
yes, okay, I will do that.
So what we typically do, right, Carl, is we motion that these be accepted and then 3 of the 5 of us have to sign.
Yes,
I signed off.
The warrants.
Oh,
yeah,
That's how it goes. So we do a
Yes.
motion on this and then we'll do a payroll motion. But then we have 3 of 5 of us have to sign that, then.
so we have a motion then to sign the accounts payable October 11 and 25, which are here.
I would like to make a motion that we sign and accept accounts payable October 11th and 25th, 2024.
Second,
Can payroll be involved in that? or-
we'll just do a second.
Yeah, we'll just do a second motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the payroll for October 16th and 24th, 2024.
Second.
all those in favor say aye. Aye,
Question.
And then reminder from Kristen. who's
yes,
Doing the notes, when the motion passes unanimously, just to speak it, to say it.
Just to
Vote
say.
unanimously.
Yeah.
Both,
Okay.
both of those.
Thank you.
Well, I'm
both of those
also
motions.
putting it in these notes that I'm sharing with Kristen.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Thank you.
I know that's important.
So, question.
Yes,
Dan, you just said, we make the motion and then we
Yep.
sign. When I went in and took my oath of office,
Yeah.
the office staff said, Peter, you should always go check the yellow folder because there's things in there to sign prior to the meeting. So
Yeah.
I usually, and they asked me to come in on Friday, so I've been doing that.
They're
So
just worried, they're just worried about getting the signatures needed.
just make sure that it's already done. So,
Yeah,
all right. Thank
I think I don't think the forms are official until there's 3 signatures and a
Until the
motion.
motion's made.
So part of it is, I think, left to our own devices here at night, we don't sign it and then they don't have it and then they can't run payroll.
yeah, that's
So-
the big problem. Yeah. Select the next select board meeting,
What do you want to do?
approval of draft minutes, which we all got in an email, I believe.
Yeah, it's not.
I did. Looking for the signature page here.
Mr. Chairman. Here. Since I was not on the board on September 18th and October 14th, I will be abstaining
Okay,
for those.
can we
And I do have a
record that,
correction
please?
to the
Feelings
21st.
or what?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the draft minutes for September 18th, October 14th, and October 21st, 2024.
Seconded.
We have a motion and second.
I second over.
Those in favor, say aye.
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 And
And
those
opposed,
abstaining?
those abstaining,
I-
one.
Yep. 0-1.
What's the date for the next meeting? It's not.
We have to come up with a date, and it may fall on election day or some such
The
thing.
meeting's at the 21st. I have a correction for that.
Did you forget on that?
Well, we just passed it. We can still fix
I
it.
thought you just
Yeah.
did the first two.
I did all three. Sorry.
Oh,
We can fix it. I mean, we can. If you want to note it here, I'll put it in the notes. Kristen will
my
fix
note,
the
my
notes.
note is in the discussion that we had with, and I forget the federal aid, the consulting firm from Florida.
Integrity Group.
Integrity.
I had asked the question in the minutes about the federal single audit. The minutes just used the term audit. And I think it was very important.
Oh, good.
My question is very specifically about federal single audit,
Good catch.
which has the 750,000 current. If you get federal, 750,000 or more of federal funds in a fiscal year, you have to do a federal single audit. Congress just changed that, so fiscal years beginning after October 1st, 2024 just passed. That has been bumped up to $1 million. So if we receive $1 million in federal funds in next fiscal year, our fiscal year would begin July 1st, which may occur given the
Possible.
amount of work and when it will occur,
Mhm.
and how long it takes to get reimbursed. We are likely to be subject to the federal single audit. So I would like the minutes to reflect that it's a federal single audit. Now, I want to comment on that because, and this is not for the minutes, except maybe the minutes of this meeting. The response we got from them is, oh, don't worry about it. It's more attest that you did this and attest that you did that. That is not my understanding of the requirements of the federal
So we'd
audit.
be required to spend money for that audit.
And those are pretty expensive.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
No.
good catch and thank you for that.
Thank you.
And you've got that adjustment, Dan?
Yep.
So, okay. Announce date for next select board meeting. The next one would typically be on the 11th, but that's Veterans Day. So we have any other thoughts on how to deal with that? And it actually is a Veterans Day.
Yeah, it is on the.
I mean,
11th.
What's your thought?
my suggestion would either we move it back on Monday or we find another day of that on the 11th, another day of the week on the 11th. But that's just my schedule.
What does people's schedule suggest?
I can always do a Monday. Oh, a Monday.
You can only
No,
do.
no, I can't do a Thursday or Friday, but,
I can do Wednesday the 13th.
Wednesday, the 13th.
Yeah.
Is reasonable for me.
13th, yes.
That's
okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
That work for you?
Yeah.
Let's make a special, I guess it's a regular meeting, but it's on a different date than our normal. At the, November 13th. 6 o'clock. Right here.
What's a forum now? Is it still 3? Or is it 4?
The what?
A forum?
Quorum.
Forum.
Yes, the quorum is 3.
It's 3.
Sorry about that, okay.
Yeah.
Just to name Carl, I know you're on the Village Extension meeting working group.
Yes,
that would be back to back for you. Are you good with
Oh,
that?
Carl's not on that, I'm on that.
You're on-
Mary's
I'm
on,
not on the
Carl's,
marathon.
Carl's wife is on it and I'm on it,
Yeah,
but I can leave early or, yeah, that should be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
we're all doing a lot of things here. Okay, so, let's set it for that and, one more thing.
Well, just a general question. I'm reading in the Times Argus that many cities and towns are preparing to enter budget season. And so I'm guessing we probably are too.
We are, that's why the push for the treasurer.
Yes.
We normally would do this in November. And it has to be done by the end of December. So it gives us, if we get started, I'd like to get started as early as we can with whatever information we have pulled together so that we can.
Well, with that in mind, and I don't know, Graham and Josh, is it possible, Graham, you gave me some, financial numbers from, and I forget the person's name.
I'll circulate.
Can we get a, we have QuickBooks, right?
No, we need to know.
Okay. Does that have the ability to give us a budget versus actual year to date through September 30th?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think that's an issue. Just in terms of the form, would probably be, I don't know, I've never done it in Excel, but it's probably possible.
Okay. And does it break out, what is paid for by Plainfield money versus outside sources?
I don't have a direct answer to that. I mean, there are different reports you can run and. I mean, we're just so we understand that we're upgrading our system so that it has that very important capability, but the problem is I don't know retroactively if that's possible, but we'll see.
What you're saying is you'd like that,
Yeah, I mean.
if we can do it.
We're gonna have one-time flood-related stuff up.
That, the flood related stuff is all separately accounted for. In other words, like you'll be able to see very different, it's running under a different fund number.
So when we pay the road crew, for example, it says this was a flood-related project, this was a normal piece of business.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, because as we build next year's budget, being able to separate those out is going to be really key.
It's critical,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And just are we on a cash or accrual basis?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn at 8:08 PM.
808. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you all.
Freezing?
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah, it takes a while to get the room heated up.
It's cold in here.
Yeah, it's getting cold in here.
Mark needs to wear a hat.
Oh, doing my best.
It's so great to see 5 people up here.
It feel- it feel-